how long should your camera last? And this is a question brought by a recent video I did about shutter counts. We're talking about shutter actuations. I'm trying to link it somewhere, but we're talking about shutter actuations because my cameras all hit that 150,000 mark. And we started talking about how long this should last. Now, one thing which came up in this video before we get to the actual crunch of this was something called infant mortality, which is a great term. But in design, it means something different than in construction. Now, what it talks about is, let me just get my camera out here. This is my backup camera. This one's had a reasonably hard life, but not that hard. But this has done about 150 shutter actuations. I know that this camera works because it's got that far. Now, the only times I've had shutter fails are around 5,000 and 10,000 shutter actuations, and that is because of infant mortality. And that is where something in the construction here has gone wrong, and it's not being caught during the quality control. So the highest chance of your camera breaking is actually very early on in the start of its life. So once you've got past that point, your camera should really last a long time. Once there are no faults within the camera at the sort of construction phase of things, we should be onto a good thing. And let me show you why. This bad boy is the 1DS Mark II. I was going to make a video on this, but it turns out that, I don't know if you can see this. See how that's not level at the top? There's a gaping hole in the camera. It's had a bit of a hard life, but listen to this shutter actuation though. That sounds good. Now this camera here, still going strong today, even with the massive hole in the top of it, which I think compromises the weather sealing somewhat. But my point is this camera was what I wanted to shoot on when I started out. I couldn't afford it. It came out in 2006, still works today. Now I know, because it's a pro camera and it costs £6,000 to buy, that the person who bought this would have more than likely, especially looking at all the scuff marks on it, been a professional photographer. They'd have used this heavily. They'd have used this without mercy and without a care in the world, especially if they were anything like me. So this is what, 17 years old, and it's still going strong? Now the downside to this particular camera is that you can no longer tether it to any of the software. It's not kind of recognized by any of them. The model up from this, the 1DS Mark III, I believe you can still tether into Lightroom and Capture One, but this one uses a slightly different data transfer and it's just not possible. It also has no live view if that's what you're into, but if you are an out and about photographer and you only want to spend £150 and get some absolutely banging image quality, this camera will still do you today and it will last you another probably 5-10 years. And I think the important part of this is that camera there, the 1DS Mark II, is probably the oldest good digital camera for professional use. It is the first time we'd got good resolution. It's 17 megapixels. Plenty for a billboard, plenty for anything really. It's a good bit of kit. It's got autofocus points all over it. It wasn't until the 5D Mark III came out that another camera matched the autofocus in the 1D series. It's got dual card slots. You know, you can shoot your weddings with your dual card slots. It's built like a tank. Like, this thing is robust. It's just a great bit of kit. So if you are a documentary photography, if you're a portrait photographer and you don't want to tether, anything out and about, this here will just bang for buck, will do you a great service. I absolutely guarantee it. I took a couple of quick snaps around the studio just to show you the image quality. Can't complain really, can you? It does a great job. There's nothing wrong with it. But that's not how long a camera lasts, because that one I can't use anymore professionally because I can't tether it and it has no live view, and I need live view for focusing because the viewfinders on 35mm cameras, when you're using a bellows system like I do, it's just a little bit too small sometimes to finesse the focus. Sometimes you need to zoom in. I definitely need tethering, which is why I use the 5DS system at the moment, but the 5D Mark II system still does everything I need. So much so that I still have one. Hang on. This is my 5D Mark II from 2005, I think it was made in. It's great. It tethers, takes a compact flash card, which I much prefer over SD cards. Mine's got a battery grip on it, so it looks more pro. Full frame, live view, does everything. The only reason I upgraded was because I needed more resolution for some particular projects, but apart from that, this does everything you need. So this is a 2005 camera, and it still does everything you need. Nothing here doesn't work. This camera is fine. And everyone's like, you can't get them repaired by Canon anymore. No, you can't. There are so many independent repair centers. I actually don't send my cameras in for repair at Canon because Canon just likes to replace the PC board for everything. Don't know why. It's like, oh, my lens won't focus. We'll get you a new PC board. And it takes ages. There's loads of independent repair centers. There's one on Brick Lane in London, which is brilliant. Just send it to them. They'll sort it out for you. They've got all the spare parts. So if you can't find it, and if they haven't got it, you can get them on eBay for pittance. But this still works. Now, the limiting factor to all of these cameras is computers. And this is something we don't really think about enough, but I've got an old phase back I use now and again, and it shoots via like a Firewire 9-pin something or other, and I have to plug it into an old 32-bit Windows machine if I want to use it. We borrow it now and again. It's a really cool CCD sensor. The 1DS won't tether at all anymore, regardless of what you plug it into. And this will be the problem going forward. It won't be that the cameras become obsolete, because my eyesight's not got better since 2005, so why would I need a better camera with sharper images? I can't see anything sharper. There's a limit to what these bad boys can do, even with glasses on. So the duration of your camera's life, and this is such a weird thing because think about it here. We're talking about digital cameras. People are still shooting the Leica M6 from the 70s. My camera that I use for film photography was Canon's F1. When was that made? 1960s? It's pretty old, works fine, still get it repaired and serviced all the time. No problems with it whatsoever. Creates brilliant image quality if you're into film photography. But with digital, we have this other obsolescence coming in, and it'll be that we can no longer plug it into a computer. The software no longer recognizes it. But take those things away, and your camera should last you forever. If you don't tether, there's no reason why your camera shouldn't last forever, or at least as long as you can buy batteries for it. One of the problems with the 1DS Mark II is that the charger costs more than the camera at the moment. Although you can buy some batteries for it on Amazon, getting a charger, very difficult, very expensive. So you have to buy it. If you are going to buy one of these, make sure it comes with a charger. It doesn't have to be an authentic Canon one, but a charger, because it's a weird charging system. You kind of plug in the side of the battery to it's old tech. But it looks good. Oh, it's the noise. Yeah. But if you think about my career, just taking this whole back, I've been doing this for just over 15 years. From the point of the 5D Mark II, assuming I can keep a computer and batteries to run it, this should last forever until we come up with a new media output, which this can't facilitate. Until we come up with a way to present the work, which a 20 megapixel CMOS sensor can't produce, it will just keep lasting. And now, wear and tear and pro-wise, I reckon most of my cameras probably last about 8 years before I've completely tanked them. And I'm a heavy shooter. We do a lot of stop motion, do a lot of time-lapse work, and we do a lot of just shooting in general. I reckon that's a good innings for a camera. If I can get 10 years out of it, even better. I spend about £1,500 on each camera. It's £150 a year for the camera usage. That's pretty good going, I think. I think that's a good return on investment. But then on the flip side, I expect my Canon F1 to last my lifetime. I expect it to be with me when I'm 90 with my arthritic hands trying to wind the film lever. Probably spending £75 on each roll of film from Kodak. But there we go.